One of the initiatives unique to San Joaquin County Office of Education is the charter school program Teach. This collaboration with higher ed and local districts seeks to address the teacher shortage by giving high school students experiences with the educational field and advantages during their college years. We are excited to have Archana Passad, one of their top students, with us today to introduce you to our first speaker. Please welcome her to our event.
Thank you. Dr.
Archana, I'm sorry. Let me read a little bit about you, Archana, so that our audience can be impressed. Archana is a senior in the Teach Academy, Adventure Academy family of schools. She will be graduating with 68 transferable college credits at the end of her senior year and excited to pursue a degree in sports management. She has already been accepted to the University of Pacific and is waiting on other acceptance letters before deciding where she will be attending college next year. Archana has played basketball at Venture for all 4 years of high school and has also participated in work-based learning opportunities all 4 years, working with students in the younger grades. Some of her hobbies, in addition to playing basketball, are gardening, especially succulents, playing video games, working out, socializing with her friends, writing, and cooking. This amazing young lady is here with us today to introduce our first speaker, and we are thrilled to meet her.
Thank you. Dr. Dorothy Jean Tillman II, DBH, is an internationally recognized child prodigy, tech and arts enthusiast, public speaker, and community leader. In 2023, at the age of 17, she successfully defended her dissertation to earn a doctoral degree in integrated behavioral health, DBH, from Arizona State University. Dr. Tillman is the founder and CEO of Dorothy Genius STEAM Leadership Institute, having launched Dorothy Genius STEAM Labs in Chicago and West Cape Town, South Africa in 2020. In 2022, Dr. Tillman was given the title and name of Nkobia Ama Akufo by His Royal Majesty Oseadio Kwasi Akufo III, the Omanhene of Akuapem, in an investiture ceremony held at the Palace of the Akuapehene in Ghana, where she serves as an official advisor on STEAM education and programs for youth. A charismatic, inspirational, and highly sought-after public speaker, Dr. Tillman addressed an audience of more than 20,000 plus 3 million online as the class of 2024's outstanding graduate student at the commencement ceremony of Arizona State University's College of Health Solutions. She also delivered the 2024 commencement address for Illinois College of Lake County, from which she earned an associate degree in psychology at age 10. Dr. Tillman's extraordinary journey from beginning her college education at age 10 to completing doctoral studies at age 17 has garnered worldwide media attention, including from the New York Times, Good Morning America, the Associated Press, the Jennifer Hudson Show, People, Essence, Black Enterprise, the Chicago Tribune, and the Chicago Sun-Times. Now please join me in welcoming Dr. Tillman.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And thank you so much, Women Together International, for having me today. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Dr. Troy Brown, San Joaquin County Superintendent of Schools, Jane Chamberlain, Deputy Superintendent of Professional Learning and Support, Janine Caselin, Deputy Superintendent of Student Programs and Services, Terrell Martinez, Deputy Superintendent of Business Services, Annie Cuneo, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Melanie Green, Assistant Superintendent of County Operated Schools and Programs, and Peter Fagaccio, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, for bringing this event to us today and making it what we see before us. The motto of Women Together International is educate, innovate, and inspire. Today, we are here to celebrate the five-year mission titled Building to Serve. Many of you are at different phases of your journey, whether that's starting out or gaining a stride, maybe hitting the reset button or just trying to figure it all out. It is important to be present in the moment. As Maya Angelou once said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Let today be a moment where we all feel empowered. Today, I want to talk about 3 key points: I will share tools that have been helpful to me and others I admire as we pursue success throughout this journey. We will have moments of call to action, shared inspiration, and reflection. So let us prepare to embark on a bold adventure that celebrates each and every one of you. Although I'm going to hit on these 3 points, when it's time for the question and answer session, I want everyone to know I'm an open book. Ask me anything about how I was able to manage and navigate these things personally when it comes to the question and answer session. Many of you may have heard snippets of my story before, but it is essential to recognize that those are just snapshots in the larger picture called life. My journey has been filled with disappointments and high highs and some low lows. Transitioning into adulthood in somewhat the public eye has not been easy. Every choice that I made regarding my appearance, my style, and my decisions was often scrutinized by those who didn't even know me. People expected me to show up antisocial or the stereotypical nerd or gifted kid vibe. Or some people expected me to show up and always be Dr. Dorothy Jean Tillman instead of just a teenager. There was no cookie cutter presentation of however I would show up. There were oftentimes instructors that expected me to be one way and peers that expected me to be another. And then there's me, the actual person that I am. For instance, I vividly remember a moment during the media coverage of me receiving my doctorate at 17. I was on the cover of a major newspaper in the third largest market in the country, and I had spent hours getting ready. And just when I thought I was ready, I stumbled upon a harsh comment on social media about my outfit and beautification choices. Now, mind you, there were a lot of positive comments, but those little ones from people who may have only had 1 or 2 followers, they were really trolls, but they still stuck out to me. I felt somewhat crushed in that moment because of so many things, because of, being a teenage girl and how I care about my looks, because of how my beautification choices are a part of my culture. But in that moment, I drew strength from my grandmother, who was a field staff organizer for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She taught me about resilience and the importance of standing up for what's right and important to you. My mother, Jimalita Tillman, ran a multi-million-dollar art institution, showcasing creativity and the power of community and villages. Their legacies instilled in me the belief that I could overcome any challenge and make a difference. Because if they could get through their challenges, I could definitely overcome mine. According to the American Psychological Association, resilience is the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think back to a time when you had to be resilient. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in deeply. Now breathe out. Be present in that moment. Perhaps it was during a sports competition, preparing for an important exam or a medical concern, or maybe even a breakup. But sometimes those moments, those breakups, whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or in the workplace, can truly change how our resilience looks. How did you handle it? Who was your village? What were your takeaways? Open your eyes and let those images resonate with the ones you see before you. How do you see yourself after making it through? Can you share your story with others and inspire them? And in preparing for today, these are things that I think about when I'm addressing an audience of my peers. My professional world of integrated behavioral health, or an everyday person that I meet in life, it is important for me to always leave someone better than I found them, even if it's with a smile or a compliment they didn't receive that day. You never know how powerful your testimony can be. Having a village is crucial. When I think of my village, I envision my mother, my mentors, and my friends who uplift me. As Michelle Obama wisely said, there's no limit to what we as women can accomplish. But I say this is only possible when we support one another. The women in my family have profoundly impacted my life. My grandmother's dedication to civil rights and my mother's entrepreneurial spirit have taught me what is possible when we believe in ourselves and one another. These influences remind me that no matter what obstacles we face, we can emerge stronger and more capable. Sometimes the village might not show up the way you want them to, But then you have to figure out other techniques. You have to dig into your mental and wellness and emotional tool belt to figure out what may work for you in that moment. As we navigate our unique journeys, self care must be a non negotiable part of our lives. It is easy to become consumed by our responsibilities, especially as leaders. However, we must remember that taking care of ourselves is vital for our well being and effectiveness. Here are things that I've learned on my own journey to earning a doctorate by the age of 17. For one, mental health. The National Institute of Mental Health reports that nearly 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. experience mental illness each year. This statistic underscores the importance of prioritizing mental health. Engaging in activities that may promote mental wellness can help us manage stress and anxiety. For some, this may mean seeking therapy, while others may find solace in mindfulness practices such as meditation or deep breathing exercises. Some people might need to find a good middle and do goat yoga. I make getting healthy sleep a priority every day. Otherwise, seeking rest and recovery from the demands of being a hardworking, high achiever. I'm a creative at heart, so I also dance and act in plays and do other forms of artistic expressions, which can be very therapeutic for me personally. It's one of the reasons that my company emphasizes the A in arts for STEAM. For two, physical health. Our physical health is equally important. The World Health Organization states that regular physical activity can improve our overall well being and reduce feelings of depression and anxiety. This doesn't mean that you need to run a marathon. Even simple activities like walking, yoga, or dancing, even in your room in the mirror, can provide significant benefits. For three, exploring the world. Traveling and experiencing new cultures can be incredibly rejuvenating. Whether it's a weekend getaway or a trip across the globe, these experiences broaden our perspectives and inspire us. As Dr. Mae Jameson once said, the first African American woman in space, never be limited by other people's imaginations. When we explore the world, we gather new tools, ideas, experiences, and connections that empower us to build our own lives. Make getting a passport for yourselves and those in your family and community a priority. I travel regularly with my family and staff and friends for both business and personal enjoyment, including to Ghana, Tokyo, and most recently Amsterdam. In fact, it was a trip to Cape Town, South Africa that inspired the launch of my company, the Dorothy Jean Steam Leadership Institute, in 2020 at the age of 14. You never know where a trip might take you. Even going to a new neighborhood in your hometown you've never been to. You never know where that might lead you. For four, journaling. Another powerful self care tool is journaling. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can be a cathartic process. It allows us to reflect on our experiences, track our own growth, and clarify our goals. I encourage you to take a few moments each day or week to jot down what you're grateful for, your dreams, and the challenges you face. This practice can lead to increased self awareness and mental clarity. I want to tell you all, nobody is reading your diary. Nobody will be in your journal with you. You can be the angel you want to be or the worst person you want to be in there. As long as you're being honest with yourself so that you can track your growth and that you can be aware and not running away from your emotions, that's the power in journaling. Creating a self care routine. For five, consider a personalized self care routine that incorporates these elements. Set aside specific time in your week for self care. It could be a Sunday bubble bath, a weekly coffee date with a friend, or a daily walk in nature. But remember, self care is not a luxury, it is essential to our mental health. Among my practices is spending quiet time outdoors on my daily walks, which is good for my mental health and emotional wellness, as well as my physical health. So I knocked three off the list already. Some of the statistics on self care include, according to a survey by the American Psychological Association, 79% of adults reported experiencing stress in their daily lives. Prioritizing self care can help mitigate stress and overall well being and help improve overall well being. As we conclude today, I hope I have shared insights and strategies that you can carry forward, even if it's just one thing. If you want to inspire, empower, and impact you being your authentic, genuine, most healthy self at all times. Remember that you cannot pour from an empty cup, And anything in nature that is giving away more than it's getting, might just be dying. It is crucial to maintain a full cup of joy, positivity, and well being. Embrace your unique path and don't shy away from exploring new opportunities, whether that's through travel, learning a new skill, or anything that may step outside of your comfort zone. Before we conclude, I would like to leave you with a few final thoughts. Take action. Identify one action you can step up and take this week or maybe today to support your self care journey. Whether it's booking that trip you've been dreaming of, starting a journaling practice, reorganizing your calendar, checking your email, or reaching out to a friend for support. Stay connected, nurture your relationships, surround yourself with those who uplift you and inspire you, and don't just take from you. Community is vital to our resilience, but that doesn't mean just give. Celebrate your achievements. No matter how small, celebrate your wins. Each step is a move towards your dreams. Celebrating your achievements is never something that has to wait until later. If you wait until later to light that beautiful candle, what does later really have to hold that this moment doesn't have to hold? Challenge yourself. Try something new this week, whether it's a new hobby, a new food, or a new way of thinking. Embracing new experience can lead to personal growth. In closing, just remember that our journeys are always going to be unique and filled with possibilities. Though there may be similarities, it will never be the same. The legacies of those who came before us guide us, and we can pave the way for those who come after. Each of you has the power to create change and inspire others and lead with authenticity. And I encourage you today to take that power and turn it into fuel. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. I will now be opening it up for any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Tillman. Just amazing. Your journey has been amazing. And I want to just say how very fitting it is that you're speaking here at our conference during Black History Month, because you are indeed just a dynamic Black woman. So thank you so much for sharing your journey. And also a shout out to your mom for supporting you on your journey. Yes, no, exactly. Yes, indeed. So some of the questions from the chat are, was there ever a time that you wish that you weren't a child prodigy? Why?
Yes.
And why or why not? No, you're fine. Why or why not?
I would say definitely. Me, myself, being an extremely social, actually, I would say yes and no. Me, myself, being an extremely social person, but also always being a bit, mature and a bit, gifted in a way. I think sometimes when I'm around my peers, there is a frustration of a closed mindedness that they have because of the space that they're in, because of the space that school creates and the way that it turns, students into robots sometimes. They will think in a way that I can't align with. But I think being a social butterfly, an extremely introverted person, it will always be something that I kind of grieve about because, it's something that a lot of people really couldn't imagine what their lives would look like without. And they don't realize how different it would look like without it. And I realize because of the fact that I live in that different life. And I think it's a yes and no thing.
Okay, so the next one, someone wrote that they love the concept of a self-care routine, as do I. How do you, Dr. Tillman, create consistency with your self-care strategies that you've shared with us?
Well, I think being an entrepreneur, especially, sometimes people take for granted the structure that a job gives them because of how much it drains them, which is very fair. But for entrepreneurs, they kind of have all this freedom and they're free floating to where they could, lose their balance and their footing. I think it's one of those things like, listen to your grandma or your mom or your aunt, whoever was yelling at you to get up every day and get ready, even on the weekends when you didn't have school, they were actually onto something.
They were on
Because
the
it keeps your mental health high to be clean and to have a clean space and to do your own thing. Because it's just not a chore. It's your space. It's your things. You don't have to do it, but feeling down, chances are that might be the answer to it. You know, when I'm feeling down, I go through a checklist of my self-care things, which is why I try and get them done so that I don't end up feeling down. But if I do, I'm glad that I still have that checklist of, okay, did I shower? Did I clean up my room? Did I make my bed? Did I, send those emails that I knew I needed to send? And if not, I feel like there might be a subconscious thing weighing on me. So I feel like getting up and getting ready and making a schedule for yourself, even where there isn't one, is how I kind of, make that work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, there's still some more questions for you. Um, Statement and a question. You are an inspiration and involved in so much. How do you manage it all?
Honestly, I being a mental wellness professional, take mental health very seriously. And anybody who has ever studied mental wellness or met a mental wellness professional will tell you they're usually the people who go through it the most. And so I would definitely say that having a cares team of my own and going
Mhm.
to therapy and seeing my psychiatrist, all of those things are extremely important for my own personal mental health as a person who, struggles with depression and anxiety.
I see one in the chat, another one from Irina, my apologies. She's asking, when did you have an aha moment that you had, I'm sorry, wider capacity for learning? Great question. It's a two-part. And then what are your next dreams and goals?
Um, I think my aha moment, honestly, really came for me once I got my doctorate. And, I was acting with people on a day-to-day basis. And me hearing myself talk just made me realize, like, wow, girl, you really is smart. Like, there were times before that where I would have conversations with people, and it would be great and engaging, and I would feel myself start to get mentally worked up in a positive way. But being a homeschool entrepreneur, I don't have enough enrichment conversations like that. And so I think with the level of interviews I was having and the amount of people I was interacting with, in spaces like this and speaking to people like this about just the way I've worked it out in the path that I found, and hoping that I could help other members of the community with the path that has worked out for me, and them saying it works out is it's an ongoing aha moment for me, because I feel like we all as humans and as women have those moments of insecurity where we're like, is it really true still, even though we knew at a point that that was 100% true. And it's like, yeah, it didn't go anywhere. Like, you were only getting better. And I think when it comes to my future, dreams or what I want, I think I've always had very ambitious dreams that have not always had my self-care in mind, to the best ability. And so, though I am coming out with children's books soon, for that, doing the things you love and doing the things you're good at, so that you aren't getting burnt out. And children's books really speak to everybody. I am most interested in just traveling and making new friendships and relationships, and not pressuring myself to work in the way that I have over the course of the years that I've gotten my degrees.
I appreciate that. I'm excited to read the children's books. Very, very
Yeah,
exciting.
gotcha.
Another question we have is, can you please share with us what happened in Cape Town that was the inspiration for your nonprofit?
Yes, so I love that story because it was something so, childhood. Like, it was me and a bunch of other, preteen girls my age going out to the arcade and talking about, our different interests and like coding and arts and like all of those different things that we were interested in. And me being, I think, in Africa for the first time, then just meeting girls from on a different side of the country, the complete is me. I wanted to build a STEAM school there, but then COVID happened. And so, as opposed to building a STEAM school there, I started an in-person social camp in Chicago and sent kits, like STEAM kits, so that they could perform and practice along with us. And we recorded tutorials with them, or with our like students here, to send over to them so that we could still do it even with COVID happening. And so the inspiration kind of lied within me and those being from such different places, but having such similar interests and me wanting to, bridge that gap and see how much we can teach each other.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of teens, what words of advice would you give to our teenagers today who are trying to navigate all of the demands of being high achievers? What advice would you give them, Dr.?
Your life is so hard. I promise you, it's so hard. It's so much harder than all the adults are making it seem. It really is. It's harder than this because they should have figured it out by now. So honestly, the teenagers are the ones who need the advice more than the adults. And so what I would say to teenagers who are struggling with things right now is don't be afraid of communication because you run into people who don't want to understand you. Continue to push through, continue to trust and communicate. Don't be, naive. Look for the signs in people that you can't trust and certain things that, aren't okay, but ask for what you need in relationships. Make sure you're asking, and if a person isn't willing to give it to you, it doesn't mean that you need to change what you need. It might mean that you all just don't serve each other. Or it might mean that you all both need to find a middle ground. But at the end of the day, knowing that if you care about a person, it is always you and that person against whatever the problem is, and not you against that person trying to get across your point, it will always take you a lot farther in life. This communication is like the roots of everything we do. It is the ground, it is the foundation, because we have to understand each other. There's this thing called the lemon theory where two people wanted a lemon, but there was only one lemon. So they cut the lemon in half, they went their separate ways. But one person wanted the lemon for the rind and the other wanted the lemon for the juice. And they would have just communicated about what they needed the lemon for, they would have both had 100% of what they wanted as opposed to 50% of what they wanted. And so I think that that's very important for teenagers to remember that generalizations are not going to take you anywhere, and communication is the most important thing ever. The world is so big. It's never going to be, oh, girls are just like this, boys are just like this, people are just like this. There's somebody on some other state, city, like area, country, anywhere that thinks like you, that thinks similarly to you, that you could form community with. And that's why it's important to get out there, because your community that you were born in might be your community that you can grow with. And so you have to reach out for that on your own, but never be afraid to do that. Never be afraid to ask for what you need and to communicate.
And I love the lemon theory. I love that. Very solid advice. Speaking of advice, what advice would you give others, especially young women, on how to handle the pressures of social media perfection, and how to remain true to themselves and then continuing to be resilient?
I think I honestly have a very, specific perspective on things like that, because when you have social media shoved down your throat, coupled with, it's gone from kindergarten to middle school to high school to college to workplace, other people's energies being shoved down your throat, and you're, rarely in a space just with yourself and your thoughts, it's very easy to fall into that. And so I think the first step is making sure you're being kind to yourself. You are just the little girl that you once were. You are just the teenage girl that you once were. You are just the 20-year-old girl you once were. So being kind to yourself is always the most important place to start, because we all have moments of setback. And I think it's very hard not to let social media get to you subconsciously. But if you are starting to feel like you can't tell what is the difference between your opinion and, something being encouraged by social media, it might be time for a detox. But I feel like oftentimes, because we have such easy access to social media, it's just opening up a new pathway in our brains for conversation. And people kind of, demonize that as if it's like a bad thing and everything's becoming about social media. But I think the way that we keep those conversations clean is trying to stay from generalizations. Like, be unique. Nobody's ever going to be the same. So even if we see a billion skinny girls or a billion successful girls making the most money, we have to know we don't know what they have going on. I know everybody in this Zoom can think of a time they saw somebody they knew post something and it was like, I know you in real life. That is not real. Like, that is absolutely not real. It's probably the second that you get insecure, even if it might be real, I would just tell myself it's not real. it's not real. I don't know. Like, it's not real. Because it's easy to get insecure when it's like, that's something that in the past, people never had to deal with. They never had to deal with seeing, what feels like their competition, like, or, what feels like their peers doing everything right in front of their face, being shoved down their throats every second. Sometimes it's just about ignoring it and being like, whatever, like they aren't doing anything, or being like, I'm happy for them, not interested. Like, you're in control of your social media. Social media isn't evil. It's a very beautiful thing to have at the tip of fingers. You can press not interested on anything. You can block anyone. You can remove anyone. It is your phone. Like, don't let anyone feel like you have to people or these accounts to, get the scoop. At the end of the day, the real world is the real world. Our social media worlds are our many worlds that we created for our enjoyment. So the second that it starts becoming like a purgatory, you just change to the social media world. It doesn't mean you have to, it might not even mean you have to take the break. It might just mean change world, block this person, block that account, don't look at that, follow this self-care account that's always posting the pink pictures and the cute cats kissing each other. And social media is good for something. But that's my answer.
Thank you. That was our final question, Dr. Tillman. I just want to thank you so much for being here today with us. You're amazing. Thank you for your inspirational message. And I greatly appreciate the lessons learned from your grandmother and your mother on resiliency and overcoming challenges. And thank you for sharing your gift with all of us. So thank you so much and the best of luck. And we will all be looking for your children's books and following the rest of your journey. So thank you very much.